All right, what's going on, everybody? About to dive into this, and up front, I need to let you guys know this video is going to be a little long. So unfortunately, that means a lot of you won't pay attention because attention spans are so short these days that most people want everything to be in 1 minute. That's why so many Instagram videos are like that, and that's how more powerful, more intelligent people than most of us take advantage of you. Knowing you have a short attention span, knowing that you only want bite sizes of information at a time, knowing you can't sit still and listen for more than a minute, without talking or speaking or having to, jump in. People knowing that take advantage of you guys. So unfortunately, this video is only going to be for the people who it's for, the ones who are meant to see it, are meant to hear it. As I get into black politics, because there's a lot of confusion going on right now, especially this week as Cube made a lot of news, or a lot of news came out surrounding Ice Cube. And so I want to get into that. I want to get into Ice Cube. I want to get into ADOS. I want to get into reparations. I want to get into a black agenda. I want to get into tangibles. I want to get into all these things. And there's just no way to talk about, excuse me, all these things involving black politics without really and truly, really taking some time to deep dive into it, because there's so much to unpack. Give me a sec, you guys. I need to clear my video screen real quick. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna slide this over like that. Okay, something blocking the screen. Clear this camera out there. It's much better. There's a little sun glare, but shouldn't have been as bad as it was. That should be a little bit better for you guys. So, okay, let me get back into it here. Excuse me. As well, I got a little, it's that time of the year, man. It's sinus, weather and everything, but I'm good. I'm good. So anyway, you guys, let's get into this here with black politics, the topic here for this video. And like I said, it's going to be, I might go 10, 20 minutes here, y'all. I'm just going to warn you now, because we have to get black people on the same page. And that's a tall task. That's asking a lot. But I want to do my best to clear up what's really happening here with Cube and everything else, because it's all related. Everything is coming to a head here. Let me go somewhere where I know I can post up and relay into y'all. Because like I said, I was out and about. I was getting me some eats. And this little part here, for people that do have attention issues, you can go ahead and skip past this because this is rambling. I'm just sort of explaining as I set this thing up here that out and about, I want to give you these thoughts while they're on my mind. So, starting out, you and I need to have an understanding of one thing from jump. Black people have not been voting that long. We were not allowed to vote in America until 1968. That is approximately okay. Now, how long is a president in office for, you guys? A president generally is in office for about 4 years, unless they get lucky and get 2 terms. That's 8 years. I'm sharing that to point out that, in fact, let me not park here because that light, it's not gonna work for y'all. The way that works out, though, is we haven't voted for that many presidents. Okay? And That's really where it begins. That's where this whole issue begins. Is as black people, we were locked out. We were locked out. We couldn't participate till 1968. So what that means is we've only voted for about 9 presidents. And the entire time that we've been voting, our needs have not been addressed. But we didn't understand how to even go about asking for what is owed to us. See, again, back it up. Martin Luther King was talking about reparations before they shot him. Look into the Poor People's Campaign and understand that Martin Luther King understood that rights is cool, but black people need silver. We need our silver rights. We need our money. There's a famous video that you can still find where he talks about land that was supposed to be given to our ancestors that instead was given to colleges, land that was given to so many whites that was supposed to be earmarked for our ancestors. And see, take it back to then. Take it back to 1865 when slavery ends and our ancestors go free. Understand that white society was supposed to give us reparations then. The 40 acres and a mule, the 40 acres of land and a mule to work that land, to build and till on that land. In most cases, we didn't get that. In other cases where we got it, white folks messed with us, took it from us, all kind of nonsense. And so this all has set up in a situation where several generations later, we are still dealing with the effects of what they did to our ancestors. And again, we don't all understand that. All black people don't understand that. That's number one. Number two, all white people don't understand that. White people seem to have an understanding that slavery was bad, white people abolished it, and everything has been good ever since. That's most white people's understanding. And that's a problem. Because when it comes to modern politics, reparations is the furthest thing from a white person's mind. That's not a big issue to them. Abortion, gay rights, illegal rights, these are bigger issues to them than black people getting reparations, because they're not connecting the dots. They don't understand. We are still dealing, again, excuse me. Gross, I know, but it's life. White people's understanding of slavery, racism, etc. is that it's over and black people need to get over it. This is white society. This is how they teach their kids to address these issues. This is what they think when it comes to what black people are talking about. They don't believe in racism. It's crazy until social media really started posting all these videos of police murdering unarmed black people to where they can just see it with their own eyes. A lot of white people didn't believe us. And that's all related to politics because, again, even with George Floyd, it was nice to see all the protests and folks marching and people posting stuff on their social media. All that's cool. But what white people don't understand is we don't want signs. We don't want posts on your social media, although that's cool. It's better than y'all ignoring entirely what's happening to black people, because that's a little disappointing too. You look at a white person's social media and they're talking about everything in the world except for what's happening to black people. And that's a little disconcerting that so many whites do that, because it's very common. It's very common. I have a couple business profiles where, I'm hired as a consultant to do a little networking. And, again, white people's social media often is night and day from a black person. Black person is talking about all the blacks who've been murdered by police. And you go on white person's social media, and they're traveling the world. They're showing you pictures of this, pictures of that, going here, eating. Vacation. Here's my truck. Here's my house. It's all these entirely different experience, and in so many ways, that's exactly what the problem is. Is that there are so many white people who are living a life that is entirely bliss in terms of understanding what black people are going through in America, no less, not in Africa or some other, place, right here in America. They see a couple millionaires like LeBron James and figure, oh, well, if LeBron James can be a millionaire, every black person can be a millionaire. All this racism stuff is BS. If LeBron is successful, everyone can be successful. And again, it's such a warped understanding of reality. Every black person doesn't have LeBron James' body, number one. Number two, don't have the work ethic, which I'll agree. You got to work hard to be a LeBron James. But even if you have the work ethic and don't have the body, you're not going to be LeBron James. You're not going to make LeBron money. There's some very hardworking people who aren't 6'8", 240 coming out of high school. So it doesn't matter how hard they work. They're never going to be LeBron James. They're never going to make LeBron James money. They're never going to win 4 rings, never going to do any of the stuff that LeBron has done in his career, because they're not 6'8", 240 coming out of high school. I don't know what his current measurement is now. I'm sure he weighs a little bit more. It's all muscle. And again, most people will never be on that level. Most people, it just won't happen. So it's so unrealistic for so many white people to believe that since there's a LeBron James, every black person could be LeBron. That's not how it works. Again, there's only 15 slots per team. Again, these are not every black person is not going to play in the NBA. It's like it's so unrealistic to expect every black person to be an athlete or some other kind of profession where you have to be excellent. That's so unrealistic. I know Chris Rock made a joke about this years ago, and it really sums up our issues perfectly. He's one of the best comedians to ever do it. And he named off some of the blacks that live in his neighborhood, and they're all the best at what they do. And he said he lives next door to a regular ass dentist. That's the problem, you guys. Black people want to be average and live in $1 million home too. Black people don't want to have to be the best just to live in a good neighborhood with good schools and good facilities and whatnot. And that's the problem. That's the problem. Again, as blacks are being murdered by police, a lot of white people say, well, what about black on black crime? And my problem with that is y'all never really want to discuss black on black crime. You never really want to get into what is causing it, what it is, because it's really proximity crime, right? This gets covered ad nauseum, but people don't want to listen. Again, this is the attention deficit that so many of y'all have or believe you have, when truthfully it's just selfishness. It's ego. You believe that what you have to say is more important than what someone else has to say. So you won't listen long enough to hear that 85% of white people are killed by other white people, that the majority of Asians are killed by other Asians, the majority of Hispanics are killed by other Hispanics. It's proximity crime. And yet I'm not excusing what goes on in our communities, but there are so many studies that show that the kind of crime that goes on is almost exclusively linked to poverty. And this is what America has done to black people. They've kept black people poor. And that impacts us. It impacts our relationships. It impacts our dreams and our goals. It makes us easy targets for police and institutions that are built on money, because again, there's a bunch of black people in prison right now, not because they're guilty of the crime they were accused of or in some cases convicted of. They're in jail because they didn't have the money to prove they didn't do it. That's the craziest thing about crime too. Like, you watch some of the stuff that goes on, like with the police, how they act like they gotta have all the information before they throw a police officer in jail. They don't do that with black people. They throw you in jail first, and then you have to prove your innocence after the fact. It's crazy, you know. Some of y'all saw the Breonna Taylor situation, and that's relevant because of what I'm about to talk about here in a moment, with the DA, who's a clear sellout. But they arrested Breonna's boyfriend that night. Okay? He had to go to jail that night. There was no let's wait and see, let's investigate, let me look into this. They took his ass to jail that night because that's what goes on. So it's crazy how these things go. But a lot of these things happen to us again because we don't have the money. If we had money to pay lawyers to sue the shit out of these people, they wouldn't do it. But we don't have those lawyers. And so we can't hit back. We can't really, and this is, you know, again, what I'm getting at is all connected to 1865 when we got off the plantation. They never made us whole. All the way from 1865 to 1968, black people were fighting for equality. Basic human rights, basic decency, the right to vote, making segregation and Jim Crow illegal. These things have created so many generational issues. Understand something. Understand that Jim Crow means that my grandmother didn't get the same type of education that a white person's grandmother got. You know, a white person my age, their grandparent, their great grandparent got an education that my great grandparent was unable to get. So whatever we've gotten out of America has been scrapping and fighting for it. That's right. And I know a lot of white people like to believe that they've worked hard for the success they've had. And some of y'all get mad at me when I say this kind of stuff, because it's not my first time saying it. But a lot of y'all are succeeding just because you're white. The system was set up for you. And that's what has to change. America needs to be for everybody. And I believe, you know, in 1968, a lot of us got the feeling that we may have finally got to a point where America would finally be for everybody. And they've just been pulling all kinds of BS on us ever since. They've found a way to do for everybody but black people. They found a way to use black people's struggles as a way to create more protection, even reparations, for just about every single group in America that wants to define itself as a minority. So, for example, we had affirmative action for a while. It was in every state. I think some states might still have it. A lot of states started to strike it down, or, you know, around when I was in college, and that was in the 90s. So think about that for a moment. We didn't get affirmative action until, like, you know, again, I'll look into it. So please correct me if if I'm wrong. But I believe it was the 70s. when affirmative action actually came out. It might have been the mid 60s too, but either way, from 60 to 90, that's 30 years. So that's not very long for black people to take advantage of a policy that was meant to help balance the scales. Again, when this nation spent hundreds and hundreds of years of legally discriminating against black people, oppressing black people, keeping black people out of opportunity, something comes along to help black people. And first off, they never wanted it. Secondly, they end up to a point where eventually it starts benefiting, again, everybody but black people. Now, all of a sudden, affirmative action is for minorities. Not black people, minorities. So white women found a way to get in there. Whites who are descendants of $5 Indians, they're not Indian, but they claim it, they're getting advantages. Asians are getting advantages. Hispanics are getting advantages. Gays are getting advantages. And again, hey, good for them. But these things were not created for y'all. So while y'all are progressing and getting your dreams accomplished and getting things, black people are still struggling. This is what Cube is talking about. That he's not looking at who's in the White House. He doesn't care about Republican, Democrat. He's saying, we need our check. And one of y'all gonna give it to us. So hold that thought. So, in understanding black politics, you have to understand, again, like I said, we've only voted for about 9 presidents. And what a lot of people don't realize, some do, some realize this, but a lot of black people started out as Republicans. There was a time, especially my grandmother's time, sorry about that. My grandmother and them were Republicans. A lot of black people switched during Reagan. That would be in the 80s. So all this talk about how faithful we've been to the Democrats and whatnot, a lot of y'all not old enough to understand. We really ain't been rocking with the Democrats that long. But overall, we haven't been voting that long. And what's happening right now, it really started in 2016, maybe a little bit even before that. A lot of black people started to realize that neither party is really looking out for us. In fact, Malcolm X told us this 50 years ago, that black people need to be re-educated in politics. And this is one of the issues that we're facing right now. Like I said, things are not equal. So even our education about politics is not equal. A bunch of black people do not have the same understanding of the political game. So, and I'm getting to my conclusion here, but I had to kind of lay this out, and I need y'all to really think about what I'm saying here. Some black people are at a point right now where they, rightfully so, want Trump out of office. Trump is terrible. Trump is emboldening white nationalists. He doesn't condemn white supremacy. His whole slogan of "Make America Great Again," we all know what that really means. It's code word for let's take it back to the days when black people didn't have no rights. There's so many reasons to want Trump out of office. And yet, the other option is trash. And as I said in the post, when it comes down to it, black people are not on the same page politically. So, some black people want a black agenda that really matters. That's very important on the priority list. That's high on the priority list of things that matter when it comes to politics. A black agenda is like number 1 with some people. With a lot of black people, however, that issue is way down here somewhere, right? They'll overlook Kamala Harris's horrible track record. They'll overlook how bad of a candidate Biden truly is because the black agenda is not that high on their priority list. There are other issues that are a little bit higher on their list than other black people. So that's one split. If some black people are like, I need a black agenda, that's number one. Others are like, I want some other things first. This black agenda stuff, I don't know about that. Right? So that's why there is a confusion where people think Cube is supporting Trump because his priority ain't the same as their priority. Okay? Told y'all I was getting there. And the reason all black people are on the same page with that is because we need to be re-educated politically. We do not understand how to approach politics from a race situation. That's one of the byproducts of slavery and what they've done to us and not repairing us, is you got a lot of black people who just follow white folks around. And like I said, black agendas, reparations and things, that's not very high on white people's lists. So since it's not high on white people's list, a lot of black people, it's not high on their list either. So here's what Cube is saying. Cube is saying, here's my contract with Black America. Now, there's a lady who wrote an article in the LA Times. That's kind of really what motivated some of my thoughts. I didn't like her article at all. Not one bit. Because she's comparing Ice Cube to the Attorney General in Kentucky. And these are two entirely different type of black people. The black men who support Trump, who she was talking about, are excuse me, I can't just say everything I want to say. They're sellouts. They're Toms. Absolutely. That's a different type of black person than what Ice Cube is on. Those black people have no priority for a black agenda. None. Their priority is butter biscuits. Their priority is literally, and again, I was glad the LA Times lady pointed that out, that a sellout normally gets something in exchange for selling out. It comes again from slavery, from Meritorious Manumissions. This was a practice, a law put in place that said if a black person tells on another black person, etc., they would be rewarded. It goes all the way back. That's how deep this thing is. They've been driving wedges in our communities for centuries, and it continues. And this is what I'm saying, even with this situation here, a lot of Democrats want every black person to vote democratically. And it's almost like a vote blue no matter who. That's one of the sayings. And yet black people who care about a black agenda are like, I don't know about no matter who. Because again, that goes back to some of the old thinking that we have, which is you gotta vote for the lesser of two evils. That's how my grandmother taught politics to me, because again, Reagan was her president. She would always joke about it too. She voted for him. She was a Republican. But by the time my mom and them came along, most black people started to see these Republicans ain't about shit. And again, Reagan's reign helped make that clear with his trickle down economics. All the things that he was doing were negative for black people. So black people move. We said, I'm not doing this no more. We're going to do something else. And we've been with the Democratic Party about, pretty tough ever since, for the most part, with the exception of the sellouts. And so again, I feel it was disrespectful for the author from the LA Times to put Cube in that category, because he's saying something completely different. He's saying he doesn't endorse either candidate. And I understand how that looks to a person who doesn't have a black agenda here on there. To them it looks like, well, that's going to let Trump back in for another 4, and it just might. Let's be real about it. That might lead to Trump getting 4 more years, because let's face it, a lot of black people didn't like Hillary Clinton. A lot of black people didn't vote in 2016. It's a big reason Trump won. But as both parties seem to not give a damn about us, it's almost like we're not getting anything in exchange for our vote. And we need to stick together in order to get something for our vote. So there's a lot that has to happen. There's so much that's going on. And we're a long way away from getting black people on one page. So that's where ADOS comes in. I was going to talk about that. ADOS sort of started organizing black people a little bit after 2016 around basically clarification of who should receive reparations. And they put together their own black agenda, ADOS101.com. That's ADOS101.com. They have their own black agenda, things that they feel a politician needs to put on their agenda in order, again, to secure our vote. And then you got Tariq Nasheed. Some of y'all, whether or not you like him or not, I don't care. He's been talking about tangibles for what he calls foundational black Americans. Same idea. We need something tangible. Money set aside specifically for black people, not people of color, not minorities, not these trick words that they use to undermine us. We needed to say black people. And again, I understand that for black people who you don't like Trump in office, and I get that. I don't like the man at all. Most likely, I'm gonna be voting myself, voting to get him out of office. But I don't like the other options either. Biden and Kamala are trash to me. But see, again, I understand that black people who really have black agenda here, like, if I'm speaking about my personal, that would be like second for me personally. Coronavirus being number one. That's my reason for wanting Trump out. The way he's handled this coronavirus, trash. Poor leadership, top to bottom. This has been one of the worst years ever. Okay, and I don't want 4 more years of this. So that's my reasoning. But again, to a person whose black agenda is higher than coronavirus, they're not tripping. And so that's where some of the divide is where is a black agenda on your list of priorities as a black person? Where does that rank for you? Because that determines how much you understand about what Cube is doing. Cube is simply saying, I'm Ice Cube. I'm NWA. Several years of influence in the black community. I'm going to use my platform to get one of these politicians to pay attention to a black agenda. And again, some people got mad as jealousy or something. Like I said, these are things we are working on as a people. Some people look like ADOS too, in fact, got mad initially because they felt like Cube is overlooking all the people who've been working to get to this point. And that's not it at all. In fact, he's taking meetings with ADOS and they're all getting on the same page. And this is what I'm saying. We as a people, we've been through so much that we still deal with things on such an emotional level all the time. And so many of us need to be more logical with the things that we do, but we just aren't there yet. And I'm not making fun of us for it or blaming us for it because we didn't do this to ourselves. We didn't create these problems for ourselves. So, we sometimes are too quick to fight with one another and not look at the common ground that we share. And I'm saying that because, again, if you do that, you'll see there's a big difference between an Ice Cube and a Daryl Scott, or one of them sellouts, or Herman Cain, who passed away. There's a big difference. Cube is saying, I put something together. Both parties reached out to me. And again, he wasn't saying nothing about it. Trump's people put it out. They put the news out that they looked at his plan and whatnot. So Cube said, yeah, that's right. They looked at my plan. They adjusted some of their plan, but he's been very clear. That platinum plan is not his plan. He wants more. He wants something else. And so again, rather than us call him a sellout or all this other nonsense, we need to listen. We need to think. And we need to discuss where that black agenda ranks for us. Because that's one of the main things right now. See, if we all got on one accord in terms of that black agenda. It literally would force one of these parties, most likely the Democratic Party, to address those needs. But so long as there are black people who really don't care about that, and so, again, as FBA has come out, as ADOS has come out, there've been a bunch of black people who've been against it. They've been arguing against reparations. They've been arguing against reparations for descendants of slaves. They've really helped muddy the conversation. And I'm gonna be frank, we need those black people to shut up because y'all are holding up progress. Again, but we don't understand this. You see, we really don't. So, and the Meritorious Manumissions, to be honest with you, is very enticing. So you got a lot of black people. They'll, I'll give you an example. Joyanne Reed, for example, she'll get on her platform. She has a news show. She'll call ADOS bots because Joyanne Reed is not a American descendant or African American descendant of slaves. Her people immigrated here in the 80s after things that my ancestors did created a road for her to come here. So when we start talking about how she shouldn't get in on the pot, she don't like that. So her and a lot of people like her that don't respect what we're saying have taken it as an insult. Even though it wasn't meant to be that. It was like, we love y'all. There's no beef here, but we're trying to get what America owes us. And they keep making it sound like they can't figure out how to pay black people. So what ADOS, FBA, etc. have done is said, look, we'll tell you how. You pay us. We the ones whose ancestors built this country. We the ones whose ancestors you raped, you enslaved, we're the ones whose families you broke apart. We're the ones you owe this debt to. We made it very clear who it goes to. But again, there's a lot of conversation and disagreement and disarray, and some of that's going to take time to sort out. But that's what's going on here, you guys. That's what's going on in black politics, is we are waking up. We're learning, I believe, to understand how to move as a group when it comes to politics. We are not a monolithic race. That's something Biden said that was such a trash comment. He tried to claim that Hispanics are more diverse than black people. It's like, bro, do you want us to vote for you or not? What are you doing? Because black people are some of the most diverse people on earth. We don't agree on much of anything. We are very individualistic in nature. So telling us to come together for political reasons is hard, is difficult. It's not what we've learned. Again, it's not what when our programming was set up for. They've done stuff to us to help make us individualistic like we are. And so it's very difficult for us to do what we got to do, but we got to do it. And that's what Cuba's saying. Cuba's saying whoever is in that White House, whoever's in there, we need to approach them about this debt they owe us. It's not about Republican, conservative, libertarian, Green Party, it's an entirely separate issue. But it may look like he's splitting votes to a black person whose priorities is, I need Trump out. I don't care about Biden and Kamala's record. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. Black agenda is down here somewhere. To that person, it may look like, man, Cube, you trying to help Trump win. But Cube is saying, I don't even care who wins. What I care about is getting this check. And I believe more of us should be on that same page. Thanks for watching. I know it was long, but I hope you got something out of it. I hope I cleared this thing up for you. We've been so disenfranchised in America for so long that we have to understand that getting things right is going to take a little while as well. Okay? These problems didn't form overnight. We won't solve them overnight, but we will solve them if we work towards the solutions. Again, thanks for watching. Top Networkers Group. bringing you the real on Black politics.